Okay, please let's take our seats so that we can start. Just close the doors. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the second day of these public hearings in Cape Town. Just to remind the audience today that we are conducting these hearings in order to obtain facts and evidence in assessing the up to 2 applications that were filed by ESCOM with Nersa. So the first application is the regulatory clearing account for the MYPD 3. It is for the 5th year of the MYPD 3, and it's a backward-looking application. The second application is the MYPD 4 for the next 3 years, and that one is forward-looking. So we expect presenters to touch on both applications. One is the clearing account, where ESCOM incurred certain costs and it requests Nersa to allow it to recover those costs. Looking at the faces here, so I'm trying to simplify. And then the next application, the one that I say is forward-looking, is the revenue that is requested for ESCOM to enable ESCOM to produce and provide electricity. So it states how much it will need to be able to provide electricity. I think that's the simplest way I can put it, so that everybody can understand, and the groups that are going to present today to understand exactly what we are doing. So we're looking for information and evidence and any concerns and solutions that are proposed by the different stakeholders, so that Nersa can take those into consideration before we take the final decision. So we are resuming the second day today. For those who were not here yesterday, we have already summarized the rules that are governing the public hearings at Nersa. And those rules, I will summarize them to you right now. And one of them is that all presenters will be required to do their presentations under oath. And only the members of the panel are required to ask questions to the presenters. However, if there is a member of the public who would like to get clarification from the presenter, that member of the public can put down that question and the clarity that it is sought, and take that piece of paper and give it to Mr. Sandile Dancer right at the back there, and Sandile will then give that paper to the members of the panel, who will then decide how to ask that question. In that way, we are trying to accommodate the audience here that has taken time to be part of these hearings, so that they can at least get some clarity that they are looking for. Please also note that the presenters are only given 20 minutes to present or to do their presentations. There is no additional time assigned. It will be at the discretion of the chairperson, which is myself, after I have consulted with the members of the panel on whether or not we need to grant additional time to that specific presenter. During your presentation, if you are of the view that some of the information that you need to present contains confidential information, please indicate that to the panel or to me as the chairperson, so that we can decide whether or not we need to clear this room to hear the confidential information. And today we have about 3 or 4 presenters. One is the Project 90 by 2030, that will be the first presenter of the day. And there's a second presenter, which is also a group, but each of these presenters, I'm saying the group by the way, will be given 20 minutes, and that is the rules of these public hearings. And then at the end, we will then invite ESCOM to come forward to do some concluding remarks. Part of those concluding remarks will be to respond to some of the issues raised by stakeholders, so that ESCOM can provide responses as well as clarification to the issues raised by stakeholders. Now I'm going to call the leader of, or before that, let me introduce the members of the panel again for those who were not here yesterday. My name is Nomfundo Moseti. I am the full-time regulator member responsible for regulation of electricity and gas at Nersa, and today I'm assisted by the members of the energy regulator, and I will introduce each of them. Starting from my immediate right, I have Mr. Jacob Modise, who is the chairperson of Nersa, and he is also the member of the electricity subcommittee that looks into these matters. Next to Mr. Modise, on my far right, I have Mr. Muzivukile Mkize, who is the full-time regulator member, primarily responsible for the regulation of petroleum pipelines at Nersa, and he is also the member of the electricity subcommittee. On my immediate left, I have Mr. Christopher Follet, who is the CEO of Nersa, and he is also the member of the electricity subcommittee. On my far left, I have Mr. Fungai Sibanda, who is the part-time member of the energy regulator, and he is also the member of the electricity subcommittee and the chairperson of the finance committee, as well as the human resource committee. I do also have the members of the energy regulator who are in the audience here, and they are also part of the decision making at Nersa when this matter gets to the board of Nersa, and that is Mr. Yusuf Adam sitting in the front row there. He is also the member of the energy regulator. I would like to also inform you that there are headphones for those who need some interpretation. Channel 1 is English, Channel 2 is Afrikaans, and Channel 3 is isiXhosa. So if you want to make use of those services, please look at those are available. You can get assistance from the Nersa team that is here in the audience. At this stage, I would like to invite the person who is going to brief us with the evacuation procedures. If you could come forward. I'm not sure if we still have the same guy that we had yesterday, or we have somebody else to brief us. I'm giving you 3 minutes, ma'am, to assist us with the evacuation procedures. Over to you.
Good morning, everybody. Welcome to Texas. Just a short briefing. We do not have a fire drill scheduled for this morning, but we desire to hear the voice prompt. You kindly make your way through the door. On your right hand side is our fire escape. At the end of each fire escape will be a fire marshal that will escort you guys to our meeting point. Is there any questions? Thank you.
Thank you, Charlene, for the evacuation procedures. May I then call, may I please request you that you keep your cell phones switched off or keep them on a silent mode so that they do not interrupt our proceedings. would not like to hear any sounds of cell phones, and if you want to attend to this call, please step outside so that you do not attract the attention of the visitors and the other members who want to follow us. May I call then Project 90, really ready to come forward to the presentation. You have 20 minutes for the presentation. Before you speak, do you have any objections in taking the oath? Okay, may you please raise your right hand. Make sure that you speak through the mic there. You can adjust it. All right, please raise your right hand. You solemnly declare that the information you're going to provide to this panel today will be the truth and the whole truth.
And nothing but the truth, yes, sir.
All right, thank you. Please state your full name and your designation at Project 90.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Honolulu, and I am the Community Partnership Program Coordinator at Project 90.
You may start with your presentation.
Thank you, Chairperson. Can I just state that I'm a little bit nervous? But I will get through it. So if I make a little mistake, bear with me, please. Today I'm not intending to be, I don't even think I'm going to take the 20 minutes that's allocated to me. My plan for today is not intended for me to be the main speaker. It is largely to create a platform for the people that are brought into the space to share their experiences on electricity and electricity challenges that they face. But I would like to say on behalf of Project 90, first of all, Project 90 is an energy and climate change focused NGO, non-profit organization based out of Kenilworth. And one of my key roles is to work largely in low-income communities to understand the different challenges that communities face with regards to energy access. In some of the communities that I work with, they do have access to electricity, meaning that they do have the electricity wires going into their households, but that comes with other challenges that you will no doubt hear by some of the participants which will be here speaking today. Just in short, what I would like to say on behalf of Project 90 is the main question that we would like to find out is what is ESCOM doing for poor households or low-income households? Yes, on their submission they do state the declining block tariff. We have had challenges in terms of our anecdotal evidence that we've collected over the years on different people's experiences when it comes to declining block tariff and how it has actually impacted them negatively in that it is still insufficient. It is still insufficient that in today's age, in the democratic state, in the developmental state that we're in, that we're still putting in place plans to get people to have less electricity. Right now, in terms of the RCA application and the tariff, 15% over 3 years increase is going to likely result in a situation where the households which are already struggling are able to struggle more to get their electricity. One of the things that we suggest in this regard is that specifically, if we speak on the declining block tariff, for example, or as some other people might know, it is the step tariff, or the more you use, the more you pay doctrine for electricity. And so we request that we create education around what is declining block tariff, because in my experience as well, it's not only low-income households which are unfamiliar with what declining block tariff is and how it impacts them. It's also the middle-income households, particularly those who are using prepaid meters, who are also feeling the impacts of the declining block tariff. And then also, just in short, in our reading of the applications, we still have a sense that there isn't enough emphasis being put on the just transition, and specifically on the plan on how to move forward and how we plan to ensure that those who do not have access do have access. I understand ESCOM has published some many years ago now the Universal Access Plan, which is supposed to say that, which suggests that all households will have access to electricity by the year 2025, if I'm not mistaken. However, I do think that in light of what we are speaking about and what we're gathered here for today, we are still going to be making regressive steps as opposed to progressively towards providing access to households. And then also, I think, for now I'll just touch there. Like I said, I don't want to speak really ahead when I say I've put in a written submission. Today I would just like to give an opportunity to many of the constituencies that have come around to have their say. Chair, if you may permit me to request, on your list there are several names that have been provided to you. However, some of my constituencies do need to leave before time, so if it's possible, may I suggest that I give you the first 3 presenters, and then thereafter you then may follow on if your list is given to you.
It is allowed, it will be done within the 20 minutes that I've allocated to you, and it has already started at 9:24.
Thank you very much. All right. So may I ask then, first speaker is Mom Joyce. I don't see her.
Madam Joyce, would you like to start? Are you comfortable with speaking English?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Which language do you prefer?
English.
English? Okay. So you got a pass? Alright. Uzawufunga iqala. Alright. Then ukuzisala sakho sekumele uyafunga into yokubana yonke into ozakuthi uyithethe phambi kwale panel namhlanje izakube iyinyaniso yona. Alright. Ngicela nje uqalise presentation.
Good morning, everybody. I greet you in the wonderful name of my Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ. My name is Joyce Malibu. I'm an activist representing my organization, Bugletu Backyarders, in Bugletu Township. Our members are mostly unemployed and pensioners. We survive mainly due to government grants. As a source of income, electricity is our most important expenditure to survive. If you buy electricity for 20 rand, you will only get 4 to 8 units of electricity. We must use it very sparingly every day. 4 units is not enough to keep our lights, fridge, as well as our stove running for 2 hours. Energy experts criticize this increase of ESCOM as it will have a negative impact to the poorest of the poor. Our standard of living will be worsened. We pray that the authorities will consider the negative impact on our lifestyle. We pray that you will have our interest at heart as the cost of living is becoming unbearable every time. Stop increasing the poverty. Stop increasing the pain of widening the gap between the have and the have-not. Live and let live. People have to cook with paraffin heaters and flame because they cannot afford to buy more electricity. The source of burning of shelters mostly is because of those flames. This is the 3rd year that the electricity has been increasing in succession. Will Nersa please rethink the increasing of electricity on behalf of saving South Africa? Thank you very much.
Can we have all the people that are going to present here?
Can I get Mr. Malebo?
Please all of them come forward. That's the only person that will be the only one that will come forward.
Right.
They must come forward.
And then when you come.
Good morning. Good morning. Please raise your right hand. Do you solemnly declare that the information you're going to provide before this panel will be the truth and the whole truth?
The truth and the whole truth.
Thank you very much. You may then start with the presentation. Please adjust the mic so that whatever you say is true.
Good morning, everybody. Thank you, ma'am, and the panel.
My apologies. Before you start, you didn't state your full name for the record. Yes.
My full name is Johnny Malebo, and I'm also a member of the Google Backyarders. And I would like to add from our previous speaker to say that electricity increase has been devastating in the lives of our communities for the past decades. The petrol increase last year is still being felt, and we pray that the electricity increase this year will not deepen our wounds. We can learn from the Zimbabweans. As the petrol increase violence is already taking lives, plus minus 200 today. Dead as we speak. TB and asthma are on the road due to the inhaling of smoke and paraffin which is used by our communities because of the electricity increase. The train smash due to the stealing of cables during the festive season is an indication that our society is breaking down in different sectors. South Africa will be running elections this year, and we are on the verge of an economic crisis. An electricity increase will only add fuel to what is already boiling. The Ramaphosa administration, President Ramaphosa administration, has tried to bring hope from the ashes of state capture. Let us, that is us, the poor, the downtrodden, not be bored with what politicians has done. The political landscape is proof that there is a dark cloud hanging over the world, and we have an opportunity to shine from the dark cloud and give hope to the world. As Isaiah prophesied in chapter 60, verse 1 to 3. It's a prophecy that these are the times that we are living in now, and we pray to our leaders, and we pray to Nersa and to ESCOM that please think about the lives that you are putting in danger, the blood that is going to flow out of the uprising that is now coming up in our country. The Holy Spirit must come down and Africa will be saved, I pray.
Uyafunga kwaye uzibophelele into yokubana yonke le nkcukacha uzama uyithatha phambi kwale panel today iza kube iyinyaniso epheleleyo sibophelela kwayo. Alright, ndicela ke uqhubekeke.
enkosi ngikaphakele ngibulisa imphana yami bonke abantu abalapha ngibulise ngabami ngenkosi igama ekuseni njengolwena
sisicela ukuchaza igama lakho kunye nesibopho sakho.
ngingulindi abathungwana ngisuka enyanga East kwindawo ekuthiwa yimbabana nje kuthiwa yiMawu ngathi apha ndirepresenta inyanga xa yonke. Ngisuka enyanga East kwindawo eyona ndawo ihleleleke kakhulu apha eSouth Africa, neyona ndawo enecrime ephakame kakhulu. Yazi uba siyazi into yobana apha eSouth Africa eyona ndawo inecrime eninji yinyanga East. Ibisandophuma last year kuchaza into yobana eyona ndawo inecrime yinyanga East, where abantu bengaphangeli, abantu abadala befumana imali egranti encinci nabantwana befumana imali egranti encinci. Ngoku xa uphinda unyuka umbane into ethetha ukuthi sizawushiyeka silamba siba separafini, abantwana babe ne-TB, abantu bebe ne-TB, kungabi mnandi kube wesi ukuba necrime. Phaya enyanga East sine-families apho kungekho bazali khona, kukho abantwana bodwa behlala bodwa abantwana bafikelele kwiqondo lokuba babafokotele umbane ngenxa yoba kungekho nto ingenayo endlini. As a result apha ndinesilip somntu omdala oyena wayeke wakokotela phaa ekuhlaleni. Ekukokoteleni kwakhe lo mama uye watyala 8,000, ngumntu omdala opeya 1,700 rand wakokotela umbane ngenxa yoba engenayo imali yokuthenga umbane. Into eyenzekayo ngokutyala 8,900 and something embaneni, funeka ke uthenga umbane 10 rand afumane iimitha eziyi-4, which is iimitha eziyi-4 just an hour for umbane kulaa nyanga East ingakayanga. Ekugqibeleni wonke umntu ke ngenyanga East siphela sikokotela, sithenge imitha sisajongile sabona ngelivele eziyi-40 zizokhangela abantu abakokoteleyo, which is abakokotele because kumbane bakokotela because abanayo imali yothenga umbane. If uNersa angasinceda ekubeni uba even if uyake kumbane but kube nento engenayo from ugovernment, as wawubhoda osuka apha eGqotho esithi abantu sizawuphakama kwi-politicians zikhankase, bakhankasa kunzima ebantwini, akho misebenzi, akho ntoni, but the electricity keep on inyuka every day, which is not nice. uNersa no-Eskom sengathi angasinceda futhi anyuse nevolume yakhe embaneni wethu ukwenzela abantu bakwazi ukufikelela konke ngokulinganayo. Abo baphangelayo baphangela bathi umnye uyi-1 endlini, ifamily yabantu abayi-40 endlini eyi-1 ku-2 rooms ahlala kuye kusherishe lo mbane yi-1, mhlawumbi ngemini iketile zamanzi ohlamba bayi-20 amanzi ohlamba qha kulo mbane umncinci we-10 rand kuna-4 units qha. SenguNersa angasinceda kakhulu siyinyanga East ukuze sikwazi ukuthenga umbane but unganyuki umbane. Enkosi.
I requested that the cell phones be switched off, or if you have your cell phone on, you can step outside so that you don't disrupt these proceedings. Ma'am, may you please raise your right hand? Do you solemnly declare that the information you're going to provide before this panel is the truth and the whole truth? Then you please state your name and the community that you are representing.
My name is Lily Peterson and I represent Project 19 by 2030, and I work as an activist in the Mitchell's Plain area. And I have a few concerns this morning and I'm super nervous, so please bear with me. I have started working on our communities, whereas we see abject poverty. We find that most of the households are headed by social grant recipients. And in our view, it is those households that are not able to provide a living standard for each and everybody which is in their houses. As the grant is being given to the old age, it is summarily just used for electricity, for water issues, for their basic living. And we find that in our experience as working in those communities, they find that it is impossible to live a decent life. They get their grants, and every year it's been increased by 10 to 20 rand. And here today, we hear that Eskom is applying for 15% electricity tariff hike. So where would these frail people, persons, get another 15% to subsidize their living. They don't have it. And I am standing here today imploring Nersa to rethink a 15% hike, because it is impossible for these people to live a normal life, a decent life. They cannot afford it. As they buy electricity, ESCOM does not know how many people are in their household. It can be 5, it can be 10, it can be 2. But what happens is that if they buy electricity, they will only receive so many units. And in our opinion, what I have seen, and speaking to council officials, there was a resolution that was adopted that said that if you owe on your water, there is a surcharge that is being used and paid for when you buy your units. So that would go for your water arrears. That would then force the consumer to buy more electricity, which will eventually put you on the step tariff, which will pay, where you buy electricity, you will eventually pay more. So whereas you had to buy 50 rands of electricity, in a normal world, or a normal sense, it would be then say 10 to 20 units. But because of the water surcharge, you will be then receiving less. And that forces you to go on to another tariff. The step tariff, where you will buy more, you will get less, and you will pay more. And for them, those railcare consumers, it is just impossible to survive on that amount, as well as paying for another 3 years a 15% electricity hike. I implore Nersa this morning, and everybody that is concerned about the consumers that are out there not able to live a normal, decent life. Because that is what our Constitution says, that each and every person can and will be allowed to live a normal, decent living. Thank you, everybody.
Can you please also raise your right hand and that you solemnly declare that the information you're going to provide is the truth and the whole truth?
So help me God.
Thank you. Please state your name.
Yeah. Good morning, my name is Wendy Pakir. I'm from Ubuntu Rural Women and Youth Movement. I'm also a member of SEFSI, and I believe I'm an earth keeper. I would like to thank Nersa for this opportunity to be here today. It's a privilege. Yesterday I sat through the hearings when ESCOM presented, when civil society, SALG and others presented their views, and it is clear that ESCOM is in huge trouble. Not only are they indebted, they're also reckless and irresponsible. It is clear that corruption and mismanagement led ESCOM to bleed and caused them to be literally bankrupt. So how is ESCOM planning to recover funds lost to corruption? They want to increase tariffs by 15% for 2019, another 15% by 2020, and another 15% by 2021. And who has to pay for that corruption? It is us, the ordinary citizens, the consumers who need electricity to cook our food, to put on a light, to go to work, and for all the basic needs. And when the municipality add their part, it will mean that the increase won't be 15% per annum. It will come close to 20% per annum. I live on a state farm on the outskirts of Stellenbosch, and I've worked with farm workers for more than 16 years. I've experienced firsthand what it is to struggle. I've seen it on farms in rural areas, on towns where we organized, where the people who feed the nation often struggle to feed themselves and their families. I've seen our neighbor come to my house to borrow a 10 rand just to have sunlight for the night. And in my house and many other homes in my communities, we've been switching off our geysers. I can't remember when last did we have a geyser on. It's more than 10 years where we couldn't use the geyser because the electricity becomes too expensive. On a farm in Stellenbosch, on the R44, There's a family who pays more than 1,000 rand for electricity per month, and this is a retired farm worker. And farm worker wages, you know, for a long time have been very low and amongst the lowest in the country. But the only place they can buy their electricity from is from the farmer. They can't go to the municipality, they can't run into an Eskom office. That's their only access to electricity. Today I speak for farm workers, I speak for rural people who are not able to attend due to the venue being in Cape Town. When you think of a rural farm in Ceres, in the Koubokeveld, in Robertson, in Bonnievale, there's all these areas that are so far from Cape Town, and transport is such a huge issue. In January, it's not the easiest month to come by. So for these farm women and the rural people who would have loved to speak to Nersa, they're not able to be here. So I would really like Nersa to consider, when we do the next hearings for next Eskom increases, to go into these rural towns. We cannot have a hearing in Cape Town alone, because it is about access. And these women, these mamas and papas who live on these farms don't have access to speak to Nersa. They might not even have technology. I had the privilege to make a written submission to Nersa because I had the privilege to have access to computer, and I could go to the library, I could access the Wi-Fi, and I could make a submission because I saw an email and I'm involved in organizations. But what about the women who just see it on the news, or maybe see it in the newspaper but would like to say something, but they're not able because they don't have access to technology. So we must make it more accessible for people to speak to Nersa and to make their voices heard. I speak for farm workers, I speak for rural people, I speak for my community who cannot afford the increase. A quarter of our population, according to the latest census, lives on less than $1 per day. It means less than 17 rand per day. Well, it's even less than that because the dollar is much less now. We have an unemployment rate of 40%, unofficial rate 40%. So how do we expect people who are unemployed or live on social grants or maybe just a child support grant to afford the increase of 15%? Eskom said yesterday there had been a 2.4% decrease in demand. I can confirm that people are going back to the old ways. Salva said the same thing, of paraffin, of candles, of gas. I went to the Northern Cape in July last month to Komagas, in Oudtshoorn, in Ababi, rural towns, where people say, we didn't have electricity, we got it very late. But the nice thing is now you can go and you can switch on the light, just by the click of a button. We never had it before. But even though we have it now, we cannot afford it. So we go back to the gas, we go back to the candlelight, we go back to the fire outside to cook our food because we cannot cook it on the stove because the electricity is not affordable. So excess is a problem. Eskom forecast a 8.4% growth, and we cannot plan on such misperceptions because already there's been a decline. For people who know me know that I love to do my hair. I love to blow dry my hair, and I think many women love to do that. But I decided now, in the light of this proposed increase, I'm not going to do my hair, so I'm not going to use electricity. So I'm going back to the roots of normal curly hair where I don't have to switch on a button and use a hair dryer or something to do my hair as a statement. This is the turning point for Eskom. Eskom, you must get your house in order. All monies lost due to corruption must be recovered. Eskom said yesterday they've got a plan to recover the money. We want to know what the plan is. You need to break down that plan. And every year you must come back to the people. You want to know how much money you have recovered, and we want to know that there's been justice. Justice has been served. The legal system has taken its course. We can no longer turn a blind eye to those stealing from the poor. Restructuring need to happen. Operation clean up need to happen. Corruption is like a virus who spread through the body. And once it's there, it's very difficult. Only with treatment you can get rid of a virus. So by restructuring and cleaning up, Eskom's going to get rid of the virus that's been running through the veins of Eskom. Eskom spent 48% on salaries. This is not sustainable. Yesterday, Eskom also mentioned the increase in coal cost. Why still the high reliance on coal, which is harmful for human beings and the environment? We know that climate change is upon us. It threatens our very existence. We need to move away from expensive, toxic energy sources. We have God-given sun and wind that we need to utilize. We say no to the increase. We will not pay for mismanagement and corruption. And that is what we say here today. To Nersa, we will not pay the increase. We cannot afford it. People won't have access. Eskom is already losing because people are moving away. They're going back to the roots, to the old ways. So how is that accessible and how is that affordable? I thank you.
Good morning, ma'am. Alright, this case, raise your right hand. Do you solemnly declare that the information you are going to provide before this panel will be the truth and the whole truth?
Speak.
Thank you very much. May you please state your name and the community that you represent.
My name is Anna Clover. I'm from the community in Mitchell's East Street. And as a community leader from Women's Supper in East, I'm standing here today for the plight of our people. I'm mostly standing for our pensioners because why? They are living in hectic lifestyle because of due to the electricity hikes. There's a pensioners that is only 2 old people living in one house that spend over 1,000 rand per month on electricity, which I mean that is not free. The pension grant money that they earn is 1,700 rand. 1,000 rand goes to the electricity. What is left over for them to survive on? What about their medical costs? And another thing that I'm asking, see that everything has been came out already. I'm just asking to Eskom and Nersa, we don't need any hikes anymore. 0% little hikes. Because why? That is crippling our people, this is crippling our pensioners and the unemployed. All these monies that is coming out there, spend it to our job creation, in decent housing for our people. There's too many gangsters and there's too many drugs on our streets because of our youth, there's no job for them. And now, to see to all these things that is happening, the electricity hikes and the water terrors. I mean, it's disgusting. Eskom, please find it in your heart. Find it in your heart and think about the people out there, the people that live in the communities that is suffering so much. I have a pensioner sitting in this room. She's a single mother, she's working alone for her children by trying, by doing odd jobs to survive, to get electricity and to feed her children. I mean, wow. I'm not going to say a lot today because I've already submitted my submission. I've already said enough and enough has been said here. But my plight is, please Eskom, please Nersa, do something and we demand a 0% increase in electricity. Thank you.
Yes, thank you.
Okay, you just state your name and your destination in the community or organization you represent.
My name is Sizwe Manqele. I'm from Khayelitsha. I'm representing SEFC Youth Champions. Well, I have questions which will have comments. Actually, it's a wonder. that we are experiencing not only a climatic warfare in South Africa, and it's a global phenomenon. We are also now experiencing an energy warfare which has been going on for the past 10, 15 years or so. And one wonders if there are experts paid to run an entity, a public entity, or that is supposed to be a public entity. What are they being paid for? Because one thinks or would imagine that there are means of preventing corruption taking place in such government-owned institutions. It's a phenomenon that cuts across not only in the electricity sector, but as well as hospitals, running of the municipalities. And one wonders where we are heading, because a lot of money is spent on these people. I mean, they spend years in universities. Perhaps one needs to revisit the education system as well and relook at how or what these people were being trained for. Economically, there is more at stake than just electricity here. We have masses of people that are supposed to go out and buy electricity appliances. What will they be looking at now? What is happening here? Maybe this needs to be relooked at. One can easily come up with a theory, a conspiracy theory, to talk, engage in this. I mean, we're going to be seeing a whole range of new products which are not necessarily meant to be seen in that manner, but there already is products in the market that are self-reliant. Perhaps this is the route that our government needs to look at, looking at the power of the sun, the power of the wind. We're surrounded by the ocean, where we could use the waves of the ocean to generate endless power, electricity for the masses. And that needs to be looked at. One thing I don't like, which I heard yesterday being presented here by Tom, was the fact that renewables are coming in at a $4.40 per kilowatt hour, while coal is at 40 cents. I mean, that was new to me. I do have knowledge that renewables come in at a little bit higher price, but they go down over time. And I heard less to almost nothing yesterday about renewable energy here, except there was more negative being said about renewable energy, which is the trend around the world where governments are shifting from fossil fuels to renewable energy. And then one wonders if is coal truly the solution? I mean, has Nersa or the experts in this room went around the communities where this coal is being produced to see the poverty the people are living in around those coal mines? Not only coal, those people are sick. I mean, I was there in the mines not too long ago, and we were told that the water that we were drinking was full of radiation and we were all radiated, and we had to go through that inspection. And then one wonders, because this is not far from Soweto, and then one wonders the impact mining in general has on the people and the promises it comes with. And years later we find that children are born disabled and people are sick of various diseases. And shouldn't we be relooking at reallocating the resources in developing the skill in those communities to look at other sources of energies, forms of energies? Has the rise of wages been factored in this? I mean, a lot of things have risen over the past few years. And perhaps this is one major thing, that is energy coming in now at a rise of a 15% per annum. So one wonders how much has wages risen over the past 5 years, 10 years? I mean, everything has been rising. I wouldn't be surprised if people are earning way below how much what they're supposed to earn in order to be able to afford anything at all I mean, you're supposed to buy clothes, you're supposed to pay for water. In the house where I come from, we've been having water cuts from 12 in the middle of the day until the next day after midnight. And today it was even worse. There was no water at all. And I was told that we only get 50 liters of water with the promise that our water bill will be scrapped. But it was not scrapped. We must first pay 2,000 rand in order for it to be scrapped, because we accepted the water meter with the promise that our water bill will be scrapped. So now we're not only facing a climatic warfare, we're having a water warfare being imposed on the poor working class. With the massive number of people with access to electricity that the government prides itself on, one has to think, where do all those people get the money to buy electricity? Of course they don't have it, they bypass. I mean, I used to live in a house a long time ago where they didn't use electricity at all. The electricity box was always red and there was always a smell in the house. It wasn't the only house. You walk around, you find 10, 15, 20 houses in the community. People are using electricity for free. I mean, who can afford the ever-rising price of electricity? Has anyone looked who is working in those homes? You might find that parents died long time ago and those are just children hustling. So people lock their gates and they don't open for ESCOM or whoever is inspecting. Yeah, where are these people going to get cash to buy electricity? And what informed Nersa to have hearings in some hotel as opposed to a township? That's where people are, and the venue is very small. I mean, I'm wondering, okay, I enjoy the environment, it's beautiful. And the food is amazing. Those are the benefits of being here. I wouldn't come into this space if it wasn't for this, so thank you. But it should be taken where people are. So you would hear directly the impact it has. In Khayelitsha we had more than 1,000 shacks burning. And that was due to negligence. I'm not sure what was the circumstance. But if we're going back to paraffin and candles, we're going to be seeing more incidences where people are going to be dying of shack fires. Not only in the shacks, there were more fires across the Western Cape being caused by negligence. In residential areas, it has to do with the faults, electrical faults and all that stuff. And I heard yesterday of jobs being cut at ESCOM. So that's my thought as a community member, and I am seriously asking Nersa to relook at the strategy that is being used by ESCOM as a public entity as opposed to a fully fledged private company that seeks to make profit. I mean, ESCOM has got resources. I think the money that is there is enough to keep the country running. Please don't ask me for facts. I know you ask for facts. They are experts in the room. So thank you for the opportunity.
Thank you, Chair. My name is Patrick Madasi. I'm representing the organization Bank Development Forum, working hand in hand with Project 90. I'm coming here just to say a few words to Nersa. Since 1994, people were expecting to get these things for free. And our expertise go down the drain.
we are saying, I'm going to be different to other speakers talking about the increase. I say to Nersa, he must speak to our government, he must speak to ESCOM to give our people free electricity. That is my opinion. Secondly, ESCOM. ESCOM is a waste of time. If you check when there is a disaster in the area, the delays that ESCOM is doing to our poor communities, the response time, it's 4 days to the poor citizens. And also, public participation. We just see some contractors of ESCOM entering our communities without consulting us, which means it's unfair for us as a citizen of this country. I'm staying in a gangsterism area called West Bank, where load shedding is taking place at night. Poor citizens die like flies because of darkness. There is a load shedding. What is the cause of this load shedding? But we've got cold in Vepar. Why, if ESCOM want special grade of coal, he's supposed to have a provision. If they buy A-grade coal, but there is no A-grade coal, B-grade is supposed to be available to generate energy. But we pick it up, it's a chommy business now. Coming to investment, ESCOM don't invest to our communities. We are sitting with 94% of passing mark in our area. Our kids are going and apply for bursaries, but ESCOM don't do nothing to help our poor communities. But these communities are paying each and every day electricity to ESCOM. I'm not trying to sing the same song with others. The venue. The venue is not right for poor communities. We need to take this seminar straight to our locations. Yes. Where our people can have an access and talk about these things. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Please raise your right hand. Do you solemnly declare that the information you're going to provide will be true and not true? Well, please state your name and your position at your organization or your community.
Thank you very much. My name is Richard Mankish. I'm actually also coming from the West Bank Development Forum. We form an organization in our area to do service delivery in our area because the needs of the community is very poor if it comes to government officials. We don't want to talk politics today because the officials, they like politicians today. We don't identify them anymore. If it is a politician or is he an official. So when it comes to service delivery, they play their games with the communities, and then at the end of the day, we are actually losing out. So today we actually plea from Nersa to speak to the government that we in West Bank, the electricity is on during the days, the lights is burning. So during the night time, there's lights, But during the night time, there's no lights. During the day, the lights is burning, but not in the night time. So it seems to us that we're paying for that. Then the lights is on during the day, and for us to pay more for the increase that they actually needed, it's actually too much expensive. Because at the end of the day, like we all know, housing in the Western Cape is a problem. So we have to give to our families. We extend families places, and then we are more than 5 or 6 people in the houses, whereby we put up shacks, and then at the end of the day, it's overcrowding, but the government just increase, but they don't give back to the communities. Like the previous speaker said, is where we faced last year, we faced whereby ESCOM appointed a company came into our area to give the service delivery to the community. But at the end of the day, they just make a profit, and they don't give nothing back to the poor communities. Like to the schools, they take our social responsibilities to other areas, they in Canada or in Durbanville, but they never bring that service, they never bring it back to where it actually doesn't belong to in our areas. So our communities every time lose out when it comes to the social responsibility, whereby they don't invest it back into the communities. Thank you very much.
Community bese chilo nesibhekise silapha community apho khona sihlala phansi kegesi uninzi the community more than 60% the community is unemployed. Most households sitibeleke ekhaya, most households debhekyadas, most households iyouth enganabo isebenzi ilelo kuthiwa imkhaba abanye abantu abayazi balindela la kuthiwa kusasa only the first umbani ewesibheke nangokuhla ngaya nabo akekho umsebenzi umbani akekho umuntu obhekayo akekho mhlawumbe obukele iTV kunenhlahla umbani sizugcinela nje masithini maslide ebusuku because we are living under gangster arrest and we cannot take the chance basingakwazi ukulala ebusuku although it's failure sometimes ebusuku. Second, inovulo itatsha abantu abaninzi bethu ukupheka umntu uthiwa kunazela kuyafika umuntu abenekitchen abantu baphekela phansi ukuze umbani ba-afford kulaba bazo-afforda nombani bamakapheka ukudla for ifamily mhlawumbe ngosisa abantu abayi-30 only indlu eneroom ezi-3 leyo mhlawumbe ezi-6 then eyona nto ebuhlungu ubani basuka khona esikome wazi uthatha umbani for 3 days but namhlanje kuyasixelela ngethelefoni ukuba ubani ufuna ukunyusa nge-15%, but wena uyakwazi uhlala more than 3 days ungenamba kaloku nge-load shedding. Load shedding le ongakhambi unikwe ngeschedule sabo ubani zohamba apho ndihlala khona most abantu iphila kwi-grant iyouth enoma ayinawo umsebenzi. Uhlala mhlawumbe nomakhulu wakho notatomkhulu wakho bahlala nomamako, mamakho lowo yena qala udiphendele i-grant leyo ezawufika nge-first. Into yokubani kuthiwa ngonyuke ehambe ndiva kabuhlungu ndivisa kabuhlungu iminisha ukuthi lona kuthiwa ubani nonyuke 50%. Ithi mhlawumbe lezi umzekelo kweveki mhlawumbe ndisebenzisa ndedlana ongathela ubani it means ndingumzekelo nambala and yona kabuhlungu nam njendihlala kula community amona of entrepreneurs kula community emini angikwazi ukudlala ama-community because I don't afford ukubani funeke ndiyabekhelisa river better apho khona ukubani free elive apho uzokwazi ukuglaga i-laptop yami nezinto zabo ezifundisa ebusuku ubani siwazi thina it's only just for light so lelokho ngicela abantu eskom lebele 15% abengathi uyajonga thina abantu abasuka kwi-communities ehluphekileyo yasibetha kakhulu 15% asinokwazi ukuba nawo 15% tu nangephi noma ngathiwa ngomso noma ngathiwa asikwazi ukuba nawo 15%. Ndiyabulela kakhulu.
Good morning. Good morning. About customs.
Just hold on. All right, please raise your right hand. Do you solemnly declare that the information you're going to provide will be the truth and the whole truth? Okay, please state your name and the community you represent.
I'm the customs. I'm from Towson, Mitchell Spring. I represent my community in Towson, and the reason I'm here because in Towson we have a big problem with the electricity. And as the previous people say, we only live with pension and mostly pension and disabilities. And if the government can raise the pension and disabilities, it's fine. Then they can maybe pay what ESCOM wants from the people. And the second thing is this: the lights in the street. It burns the whole day, it burns. So, which means we must pay the lights in the street. That's why ESCOM want to go up and up with electricity, and I don't think it's fair. Because the majority of us is pensioners, and we are suffering. And you know, some of the people there in Towson, they steal electric. But can you blame them? Because they bypass to have electricity every day. But you can't blame them because they can't afford to pay the electric every time the electric is going up. Thank you.
Please raise your right hand. Please solemnly declare that the information we're going to provide before this panel today will be the truth and the whole truth. Yes, ma'am. All right. Please state your name and the community.
My name is Charmaine. Victorious. I'm from the chairperson of the informal settlement for China Council that is in the UAE. And we also work hand in hand with Project 90. I just want to say that in the informal settlement, where our people is suffering, where they buy 10 rand and get only 3 units, our community must go to bushes to get firewoods, to make fire. And that is very dangerous. When women with their kids to go fetch firewoods in bushes provide their family. I can't afford 10 rand for electricity. How will our community suffer if the tariff goes up? Please, Nersa, we appeal to you to go back to government and say our people is suffering. The people from the poorest of the poor is suffering in our areas. Thank you.
You've spoken already?
No, I know that. Or Tandomet, who's the leader here? Are we done? All right, if we are done, then we are now going to call ESCOM to provide responses, and I hope that in the responses, because we just given out us your short presentation of the responses that before the other speakers concluded their presentations. I hope hope that then you will also take some of the issues raised here into consideration and respond to them. One of them being the issue of affordability and what ESCOM is doing, and also issues of IPTs and the challenges that are experienced, and how ESCOM will work with the communities as well as the municipalities in addressing the issues raised by the communities. I hope that will be addressed in your response. Over to you, Ms. Kasha. We didn't take all yesterday, so to conduct a check. Do you solemnly declare that the information you're going to provide before this panel will be the truth and the whole truth? I do. All right, can you please state your name and your designation at ESCOM for the record?
Okay, good morning. My name is Harsha Totalimaji. I'm the General Manager in Regulation at ESCOM. Okay, thank you, Madam Chair, for giving us an opportunity for closing. We will first try and to our best ability to respond to the issues that have been raised by the various stakeholders. We'd like to put on record that we completely agree with all of the comments that have been made by the various stakeholders, especially those that were made today. We do understand the challenges and the difficulties that many of our various communities across the country, not only in the Western Cape, experience. And we completely sympathize with that. And unfortunately, ESCOM is not in a position to make policy decisions. ESCOM is just an implementer of policy decisions. And I think the various issues that were raised, for example, the inclining block tariff is a decision that has been made by the National Energy Regulator of South Africa, which we are the implementers of. We are willing to provide, to have further discussions to see how best to address these kinds of challenges, but we are not the final decision makers. And I think many of the presenters do understand and respect that, and I respect the mandate that Nersa has, and have appealed to Nersa to assist on how best this can be dealt with. The other important point that was raised was the universal access. And again, I think those issues may be beyond even NERSA's mandate, and it would be a government mandate that needs to be addressed. Various other economic challenges have been raised, and we do understand and appreciate these kinds of challenges that are being experienced by many communities. But it is obviously some of the things that the President of the country, as one of the speakers said, who is trying to address these issues through the whole improvement in the economic conditions of the country that will have an impact on the communities. But we do appreciate that, and however, and we do also think that there needs to be a protection of the poor. ESCOM has always been a forerunner as far as trying to make sure that there are electricity prices and conditions that basically protect the poor. And we still stand by that, and we continue to request that. But it does not mean that we have to now keep the complete price of electricity down. But we do recognize that there needs to be some major improvement in the protection of the poor. It also needs to be recognized that ESCOM is providing a service, and it requires that its efficient costs, only its efficient and its prudent costs, be allowed to be recovered. We do understand that it's a balancing act, and it's a challenge, and it's a process. And these public hearings will be able to be addressing those kinds of situations. There are many issues that were raised related to the city of Cape Town, with complexities on water services, other services, etc. And we will get our local representative in the region to be able to discuss this with the City of Cape Town. So we do undertake to raise these issues with the City of Cape Town, because we do have a relationship with the City of Cape Town as in our region, and that will be pursued. So we do undertake to raise these issues here, because I'm not sure if the City of Cape Town is represented here, but I'm sure Nersa also has a relationship with the City of Cape Town and will do so as well. So the point we would like to make is that we hear the concerns that have been raised, and we will try and do our utmost to try and see how best to handle that. But we do recognize that there has to be a separation of what the average price of electricity is, as well as what they are, where there are specific sectors, and there are sectors that are even in the industrial area that require some kind of assistance from the government as a policy, etc. So we do take note, and it is not that we are not aware. This is something that we have always been aware of. Okay, thank you, and then we'll just move to our slide. If someone could assist with putting the slide up, please. Is in response to the various requests. So we decided that we'll document it, as has been the process in the recent past, is that ESCOM will focus on various themes during the public hearings, and this is how we have responded to the various requests that the Madam Chair had summarized after ESCOM had made its presentation yesterday. The first issue was the RAB, which is the regulatory asset base, which will be dealt with at the hearing in Nelspruit. I'd just like to point out that this is where we would have the relevant experts, and therefore it will be best and efficiently managed in this way, where the focus could be on those particular areas, so that, and we will try and circulate the presentations prior to the public hearings. To the regulated members. As far as generation is concerned and the various issues related to the production plan, the energy availability factor, deterioration, the use of open cycle gas turbines, maintenance and cold storage, these issues will be dealt with tomorrow at the public hearings in Port Elizabeth. We do realize this is a crucial point that needs to be discussed, and as the members of the regulatory panel had raised that there have been changes since the application was made, this will be thoroughly addressed at the Port Elizabeth hearing. The ESCOM borrowings, where concerns were raised yesterday, the details will be dealt with at the public hearing in Bloemfontein. The economic impact, including the price elasticity, will be discussed at the public hearings in Rustenburg. As far as the sales forecasting, the small, the SMEGs, the off-grid, as well as the street light issues that were raised by members of the public, will be dealt with at the public hearing in Rustenburg. Benchmarks was also raised as an issue where available. This will be dealt with depending on the issue being addressed. It will be at Port Elizabeth when it's generation, and Nelspruit when it's the network business. Carbon tax impact will be discussed at the public hearings in Johannesburg. The shortfall in revenue, where it was the 50 billion rand shortfall in the first 2 years of the MYPD4 application. This will be dealt with at a public hearing in Johannesburg. The coal costs, where there was clarity required on the unknown costs, and that will be dealt with at the public hearing in Durban, which is on Thursday. The UOS stands for use of system charges, will be clarified at the public hearing in Durban, where the IPP matter will be addressed. The implementation of the 5-year MYPD3, year 5, sorry, MYPD3 RCA, the details will be dealt with at the Johannesburg public hearings. The sales volume variance as far as the RCA is concerned and the implementation in accordance with the MYPD methodology and the treatment thereof, this will be dealt with at one of the subsequent public hearings. We'll still decide on which one. It probably won't be in Port Elizabeth due to the limited time in Port Elizabeth. And the update on the, on number 12, which is the sales volume variance treatment, we will also provide a written response as we've done previously. And then the update on the investigations, the refunds and the charges, etc., as has been raised by the public also today, will be provided in a written response to the regulator members due to the sensitivity of that information. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, ESCOM. And I think the team will also do a summary from Nersa's side, just to make sure that that is put in an official request from Nersa for the information and the extent of the details that will require to enable Nersa to do a thorough evaluation.
That will be much appreciated.
Yes.
Thank you.
The other issue here that I would like to get clarity on is the update on investigations. You'll recall that I'm not understanding the reason why some of the details are not shared in the public domain. Because last year during the RCA public hearings, ESCOM has come forward and indicated the nature of the investigations and other inquiries that are being conducted by ESCOM. And it has also provided details with regards to the number of those investigations that were initiated and how many were concluded and how many were still pending. So it would be unfair if such details are not in the public domain. This is not to say that ESCOM is compelled to share sensitive information with regards to personal details and is being held responsible and that sort of thing. But I think it would be fair now to give feedback on the scope and the nature of that information that is already shared with the public. So we expect ESCOM therefore to come back to Nersa on that and provide those details in the public domain rather than to just provide a written response to Nersa. And also part of that feedback, ESCOM should indicate what actions have been taken with regards to those investigations that were concluded. And that is also part of the questions that were asked by the members or by other stakeholders yesterday.
Yeah, no, thank you, Madam Chair. The point is noted. We do respect and appreciate that, and I think that kind of information will be provided. And may I suggest that we provide it in the hearings in Johannesburg? Thank you.
It will be provided in Johannesburg, and confidential information should be respected and be withheld. But the necessary details and the actions taken and how you prevent that situation going forward, those details should be shared in the Johannesburg hearings.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Members of the panel, do you have any questions of clarity from ESCOM or any specific issue that you would like to bring to the attention of ESCOM or any other stakeholder that presented today?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you, Ms. Fatima. Can you, I think when you deal with benchmarks, remember you're going to give it in relation to items such as operating costs, maintenance, etc. Can you also give us details of all other recoveries, like from your insurance never pronounce this way, cell captives, and I think maybe Radidan and your finance guys will be able to give you details of some of those things. So your cell captives and provide us with detailed cell captives and provide us with details of the financial statement and that.
Noted, thank you.
First and fun.
Thank you, Chairperson. From my side, I'll say that as CORE, if you can just check in terms of the presentation that was made, particularly the issue that was raised earlier on regarding the price of electricity compared to other jurisdictions. If you can also just be categorical around that issue. I know that there was a presentation yesterday that did look to that detail by outer. So the information will also assist us to supplement. I think also that generally from the Nersa team, noting the presentations of today must be more rigorous around the issue of socio-economic impact and how to deal with the issues of those that are done from the
Thank you very much. Some of the questions that are asked by the members of the public, unfortunately, ESCOM was not presenting today, but responding to the presentations that took place yesterday and today. So some of these questions that you've written to us will, and some of them have already been asked, but we'll ask some to the extent that they have not been responded to. We'll ask them to ESCOM in Port Elizabeth. So rest assured that all the issues that we've raised will be put to ESCOM, and ESCOM will be required to respond and provide further details. All right, thank you very much, ESCOM. I would like to then thank everyone for making the time to be here today and participate in the hearings, to thank all the presenters that have come forward, to thank the members of the communities who have also taken time to present their views and to make us appreciate some of the challenges that are faced by our people who are not able to come here and state their views, and the issues of affordability are quite serious as well, and we will pay attention to those and also bring those to the attention of the policymakers, as it is the issue that cannot be dealt with by Nersa alone given our limited mandate, but also the policymakers need to be aware of the issue of affordability. And ESCOM as well to do its part on those issues. I would also like to thank the members of the panel here from Nersa who have assisted and interrogated the presentations that were put forward, and for taking time to assist in these public hearings. I would also thank the management team from Nersa for providing the good summary of the issues that are contained in the two applications that are before us, and for guiding the members of the energy regulator on issues that need to be scrutinized and probed further. And I hope that they will also continue to do some more independent verification of these issues so that we are certain before we take a final decision. And there is also members of the education unit at Nersa who are going to liaise with the community members that requested that Nersa be visible in certain communities, and I'm hoping that Amanda Mtembu, Fiona Koswa, and the others in the office will be able to speak to those members of the communities and organize some workshops in those areas and pick up on all the issues that were presented today, so that you represent Nersa in those communities in all the issues that they were asked to do. Thank you very much. I would like to also thank the interpreters and the sign language and the people that are with us who have assisted in making sure that everybody understands and no one is left behind. And at this stage, I would like to say thank you for being here, and this is the end of the hearing here in Cape Town, but we are still continuing in other provinces, and we will be in Port Elizabeth tomorrow and on Thursday and Friday we will be in Devon. And these hearings will be conducted until the 4th of February. And thank you very much and have a good day further. Thank you.
Thank you.